Okay, my name is Dr. Kanya from University of Nairobi, and I teach plant ecology to the first, second years, and structure and functions of East African ecosystems in third years. I also teach agroecosystems in fourth years. Now, today's practical, we are going to discuss how to measure the population, plant populations in a vegetation. As you know, plants are distributed all over, but there is what we call the grasslands, which are major ecosystem service, and they are composed of both the structure and the community. As you look at it, how does it appear? So in most ecological work we do, we talk about the analysis of both the plants which are in a particular place. And there are different methods. The methodology is used for measuring vegetation types, especially the diversity of plant species in an area. Look at this. This is a very good, this is Kapiti Athi River at the area which we call the savanna grassland. If you check, this is a real grassland, savanna, because you can see the short shrubs, trees, and unlike the very large grasslands of like US, which are plain without any kind of short trees, and it started growth. Now this is what we call, it's a very good example of a savanna grassland. Now we are using this to understand or to measure the vegetation population, what we call the abundance of plant species. So there are two methods very fast. One which I would like to discuss here today. One is line transect, and the second is the quadrant. I'll start with the quadrant, which is a flame quadrant, this one. And there are different sizes of quadrants. We have this and this. This is 1 meter by 1 meter. There is also 0.5 by 0.5. So it depends. When you come into such a vegetation, you have to decide the size of the quadrant we are going to use. The reason is that it is not all, you don't use quadrants, sizes of quadrants in every vegetation. Certain vegetations will require very small quadrants, like this one. Others will require large quadrant based on their vegetation structure. So how do you select the size of the quadrant? I think this one I know we learned in class, and you know it, because we go on, we start with the smallest, we take the vegetation, we go to the second, we take vegetation, until the vegetation becomes constant, that you do not get any new species within the new size of the quadrant you have used. But because of the constraint of time today, I'm going to discuss about just the methodology on how we use the quadrant. But I wanted you to understand about the quadrant, how they are used, and how we can utilize them. So this is a small 0.5 quadrant, and we use it by placing it on the ground of the grassland we want to stand in. Now, there are two methods. There's what we call systematic measurement and use of quadrant, and there's this random use of the quadrant. The random use is where you do not decide where to place this one, but you just throw the quadrant, and then you find you go and then stand in the vegetation which is within that particular quadrant. Unlike the systematic quadrant where you use a line transect, which I'm going to demonstrate in the next video. So for now, we have this small quadrant. What we do is we come here and place it. You may have to throw it without even seeing where it is or what you're doing. Then you come closer. Sorry, because of the video, maybe I may have to bring it closer here. So you throw it like that, and then using now you come here and you look at the vegetation which is within this quadrant. Now the vegetation you have to count, and you must have a book where you are going to have what we call the checklist of the plants. The checklist is any plant which is found here, call it A, B, C, D. Ordinarily, it is expected that you must know all the species which are within the area, or if you don't know, you collect them as future specimen and take them to the herbarium for identification, or you would be having an herbarium, or rather a taxonomist who is supposed to take and therefore give you the names of those plants. So you come here on the quadrant frame, you pick all the plants which are within here, naming them and all that. So that is first of all making or composing the checklist of the plants which are there. Once you have done that, you randomly again throw it, and then, you randomly throw it again, and then you come, check again how many plants are here, and you go picking one by one by one by one. That is now knowing the population, just to know which plant species are there. If you want to study the abundance, frequency, and all that, and the density, then you have to go down again and you take the measurements of these plants, especially when we talk about the grasslands. This is where we talk about grasslands. They are grasses and herbs and shrubs mainly, but mainly these are herbs and shrubs, I mean grasses. So for the grass, you have to use what we call the plant cover for you to know the abundance of a particular species. I'll demonstrate this, how you take an abundance, for example. Let's say that one is there. Then you have to use a ruler, a little rule, or something you're going to measure with. So you take what we call the plant cover. The plant cover, in this case, is the area occupied by that plant. If you're assuming that you are taking it vertically, is the ground covered by that plant, if you are to take it from the area view. So what you do is, you take, like now, the whole of this grass type is here. You see there are different species. There is this type and this one. So you measure the cover of this plant, like this. You can see these are 13 centimeters. You note that is plant A. Plant B is about 16 centimeters. This one, another one which is here, it's about 3 centimeters. So you go noting that. Any plant which is occupied here, you note its cover. Then you calculate now the percentage based on the size of the quadrant. So any plant which is 3/4 inside the quadrant, you consider that. Anything which is less than 3/4, you don't consider like it's within the quadrant. So that is how we use this one. And using this now, you make many points of the quadrant. You will be able now to know or to calculate the density. You can calculate the frequency. You can calculate the abundance of each species. And that therefore you can also calculate the diversity. How many plant species are there within a particular area, like this one. So this is what we call the measurement of, we call it the measurement of a population of plant species using a quadrant. Of course, if you use a larger quadrant like this one, you realize that you are supposed to get more plant species. But that is why we had to use many sizes, so that you know this particular vegetation, what size of quadrant would be required. And then you can now use that. And I know we have learned that, and you know how it is done. So in this case, it would be used the same thing, but this one can give more, especially the size, the larger one. You do it where we have what we call the shrubs, because you cover more than when you go to a plain grassland. Plain grasslands, we prefer using smaller quadrant compared to the larger quadrant. So the larger quadrant can be used in forest and even in the herbs areas where the shrubs are more than just one one type. So having done this now, you collect, say we have made like 10 of these random quadrants. Then you can now go sit down when you go back to your lecture halls. You now take that and you start calculating various parameters of the vegetation. And that way you'll have known the basic plant species which are within your standing area. So that is what we call an ecological plant ecology analysis, and it gives you at least a view of how that population is.